Great. Okay. I'm so happy to be here with my dear friend, Laura Zinn Fromm. Laura was my first writing partner when we were right out of college, and we both worked at Business Week. And we have been cheering each other on and complaining and overeating and deciding whether we should just give it all up because it was so hopeless, and we were as good as everyone who was successful, but nothing ever happened. Like, why and what? And here we both are 30 years later, whatever. And today, Laura is at least, okay, I don't know math. Laura is first the author of an amazing memoir called Sweet Survival: Cooking and Coping, which has amazing recipes in it and also just talks about how we cook to get through life. And she is a writing teacher and editor at Sweet Lab Writing Workshops and teaches memoir, fiction, all these things. Welcome, Laura.
Yes. Thanks, Jewel. And I just want to add that there are recipes in my book from you. Your Brussels sprout salad, which at the time was pioneering.
I forgot about
And
that.
yeah, I was the first time I think I ever ate raw Brussels sprouts was at your house, I think. I mean, it was a
It's
long time ago, but
so
anyway, so we
it's
have helped each other. That's my point
yes,
in
in
food and writing and life.
many ways. And I want to, so Laura, I have a few questions. So for me, one of the things that is most inspiring about you is that you have like this underlying commitment to writing, and it feels to me like it's for its own sake. I mean, yes, there's like all the layers if we want to be published and we want this and we want that, but it seems to come from like a need, or that it helps you in some way. And I guess I just, for the people out there who are thinking of writing or don't think they're writers, whatever, like, why do you write?
That's a great question. I think, I mean, we've talked about this before. I think I write so that I can become the narrator of my own story or my own stories. Writing is really empowering. It lets you sort of examine your history, your family's history, lets you make stuff up.
Right.
It gives you control of the narrative. It's very
Yeah.
sad, and you can do it without judgment if you don't care about ever being published.
But is that kind of an impossibility?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, you and I strive to
Yeah.
be published. I think that's a function of having been journalists early on in our careers, and like you had to just crank out stories and make deadlines to get published, and that's what the game was. And I still think that's the game for a lot of us. But I have like students, I have a lot of students who are like, well, if I don't get published, whatever. The writing is very satisfying in and of itself.
Who do you
I
like
don't
when you
completely
when
understand. But
you don't understand? So I guess as in my forever quest to like feel less, miserable, like who would you say when you teach all these people who come to you for different reasons, what like who are the happiest writers? Who are the
the
writers who
happiest writers.
are most
Oh, that's
fulfilled?
a really good question. I think the happiest writers I know are people who also do other things.
Ooh, like
I don't know, they are therapists or they were lawyers and they're painters or they're teachers or they're editing other people's work. I think the people I know who are happiest usually have like two or three things that they're doing, and writing is one of them. And writing is like an important thread in the
right.
fabric of their life, but it's not the only one.
That's
um, which I think is true for anybody who's a creative. Like, you can't just create all day long. Your brain is going to run out of juice. So you need a couple of other things to keep it going.
how do you do it?
Um,
Like, how do you, okay, I'm faking that question since I know how you do it, but I want people to hear because these practices of yours really, um, I don't always do them, but they really stay with me because they are so enduring and helpful to you. What would you say are the things that like really keep you connected to writing?
so the thing I do every day is meditate, which is I learned to do in high school. That's huge for me. I just meditate every day for 30 minutes. That just calms me down and helps me clear out the fog. Also, like you, I run outside, and as I'm running, I get ideas and I talk into my phone. So, like, between fresh air
Right.
and meditating, I always have like ideas about stuff I want to work on. Also, I sort of shamelessly will start writing wherever I am. Like, I was in services on Yom Kippur, and I had some ideas. So I went to the bathroom. I
So
typed into
you
my phone.
and repenting at the same time as you were. Okay.
Yes.
Don't you
Yeah.
feel like God wants us to write?
I do. I do. I do think it's part of
Just
God's plan.
say,
No, I think you have to listen to the voice
yeah.
whenever it starts speaking to you.
Okay, this is a really good thing because I want it. So when you're meditating, and whenever I talk to you and you like, I'm like, okay, tell me again about meditating and how you possibly can do that. Because the thing about you that I love is that you're not someone who you would necessarily guess meditates. Like you're just not. You're just like a normal person who meditates. Like most people who meditate, you kind of look at them and you're like, okay, but that's you. That's a whole package. That so I don't have to do that. But I look at you and I'm like, wait, you're very close to home here. So if you can do it, maybe I can. How do you tell us how is it that you meditate? Just like how you do it? Where do you do it? How do you do it? What do you say to yourself? And B, what if you get ideas while you're meditating? Do you do something
Okay.
with you stop and like write it down? Because I have meditated and I'll have these like amazing ideas in which I think I'm gonna remember this. I'm gonna remember this. Oh my God, this is so good. I can't believe how brilliant I am. And then I will wake up from my REM state, which I may or may not be meditating, and I do not remember any of it.
So that's a challenge. I'll first start with I sit on a pillow for 30 minutes. I ask Alexa to set the timer for 30 minutes. I sit on my pillow near a window and I meditate for 30 minutes. That's the basics of it. Um, okay, when thoughts race into our minds during the meditation, I try not to write them down only because it's really important to me to meditate and get to that state. So I try to tell myself, Laura, remember these two ideas. And if I tell myself to remember them, I usually can.
Wow. Okay,
But I don't interrupt the meditation to write things down. I don't know. I mean, maybe I should, but I try to just like stay very zen for those 30 minutes,
And
which
and
may work for some people, but not others.
and do you count? Do you have a mantra? Okay, again, I already know the answer, but I want for our friends.
So my mantra is Ima, which you're not even supposed to share necessarily, but it translates to mother in Hebrew. The mantra was given to me by my like 10th or 11th grade English teacher who was teaching meditation back at the Pingry School in 1980 or whenever I took it. Um, yes, you're supposed to repeat it over and over again. I sometimes forget to repeat it and my mind like zooms off somewhere, but I try to sort of like then call my
Right.
mind back and start repeating the mantra again.
Right. Okay, that's so awesome. Um, Last question, just quickly, which is there's such a huge difference, I think you and I have both learned between writing and publishing. They're like
Yes.
two totally different skill sets that often
Yes.
contradict each other. And I guess I'm wondering what question do we want to answer? Because I think one thing is I think I just didn't realize
I have a
just
question.
okay, ask yourself a question about that, please.
Okay. And it came up today because of what I'm about to share. So, how do you, if you really want to be published, how do you then navigate being rejected? Because you will be rejected, and how do you manage the hurt, which never seems to diminish no matter how many times you get rejected? So, I don't have a good answer to that except to say, it's always good to have something new to start on. Like I wrote a short story, you read it, I sent it out to a million places. I got like a second or third rejection today. And it was very painful. And I was like, okay, Laura, go back and write that thing that you started in Yom Kippur.
Good.
Anyway, that's my question and my answer.
No, that's really good. And I love that you always sort of have things going at the same time. That for me, that is super hard. I'm sort of like a one pony, whatever that cliche is. I just, people are like, so what's your next book? And I'm like, could we not talk about that? Like, I know I'm supposed to have an answer for that, but could I just like try to survive this one? But, but I look at you and I think that's the reason to have another project so that you don't also hyper focus on the one you're in and hyper focus on how it's doing, and that you just sort of,
Yeah. I
yeah.
always feel like you have to have like a few things cooking on the stove and then one big one in the oven. That's like the metaphor I
Okay.
use.
All right. I think that
Anyway.
is so great.
But also, let me just show everyone. Here's
Oh,
Julie's book, which I love, and Steve is
yeah.
almost finished.
Yeah.
So,
And Laura teaches, oh, I should put this up here, but I don't have the technical skills to do that. But just look Laura up. Look up Sweet Lab Writing Workshops. She has retreats, she has memoir classes. She's an amazing editor, teacher, and writer. And we will chat again.
yes, we will. All right.
All right.
Congratulations on Pub Day. All right. Bye.
Thanks.